Hey guys.
Hey. Is that John?
Yes.
Hey John, it's just me so far.
Okay.
I see someone signed in as Nina is on the GoToMeeting, but no audio yet.
Nina is, you mean Nina Ferraro?
Yeah, is that you?
No,
Are you
that's,
signed on as Nina?
yeah, because she probably sent, no, I'm, let's see, where would it say that? No, I'm accepted by John Medina. I think Nina's the one who set it up.
I set it up with Cheryl's, so maybe it's someone in San Diego or something.
Well, Nina is the coordinator in Pasadena.
So it must be you're coming through as Nina. That must be what it is, for whatever reason.
I'll be Nina. I was just, the reason I was asking you, I'm just so swamped. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I'm interested in it. This timing is so bad, but we'll go for it.
Okay. Is that Rika?
It is. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Hi, Rika.
Hello.
We were just talking about how busy we all are. So that was the first thing I was going to ask you guys is, you know, how much time we have. I originally just kind of planned 1 hour to try to squeeze in as much as I could. But if it needs to be shorter or longer, we can adjust it. So does an hour sound good for you, John? That's about your max?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. And Rika?
Yeah, I'm good with an hour.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try and hold it to that. So were you guys able to download the files?
Mine was still downloading. Let me see if it finished here.
Okay. It's okay. We'll go over some stuff before we jump into this. So if it's not yet, that's okay.
No, mine's done. It looks like it's done. So.
Okay. Cool. And you guys both have Navisworks installed on your machines, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So this is kind of the overall agenda. Wanted to show you some of the resources we have that we've kind of started putting together on this. So if you can kind of some self-help type things and stuff to make you more efficient, I'm going to go through that. And then we're going to kind of demo through and do it all together. We're going to go through setting up Navisworks and kind of the way your screen looks, the different parts that you can utilize, getting around the model, using section tools, and then going into quantification and kind of the different types and steps through that. So that's what I was planning on getting through. So I think we should be able to get through it all. All right. So basically, if you guys want to browse on your computers to the V drive and estimating and then estimates, you guys will see a folder called Estimating with Bim. And in there, we've got a few different folders. We're trying to capture more Bim costs as a company in general. So this has kind of been our place to capture and throw all this stuff. But there's one folder up here called Navisworks Quantification, and that's the folder that we're going to be dealing with today.
So do we have to be in Navisworks? Correct. We have to open that the programmer.
Not yet.
Okay.
We will, but no. This is just showing some files that we've got. Do you have it? You've got it installed though, right, John?
I do have it. I haven't used it in a while, so hopefully, but it says Navisworks Freedom. Is that it?
Do you have Simulate? If you go under Autodesk on your, let's see, that's Application Manager. That's not right. It's just its own thing.
Yeah, it says Freedom 2015.
Yeah, so there should be another one called Simulate. Mine's called Manage. That's the full version, but Simulate is the one I think we installed on your guys' computers.
Okay, Autodesk.
So
Simulate, okay.
yeah, so that's the one.
Okay,
So,
it's just not on my desktop, but it's in the it's downloaded.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Good. So in here in the estimating with
So
BIM
I'm sorry.
folder.
So it was estimating, and I'm working
So
out of the house today, and my screen is just kind of screwed.
Gotcha. Yeah. So estimating, estimates, and then estimating with BIM. And then the Navisworks Quantification. And I just created a shortcut to this. So you guys can do that right now. You can just right-click on the 0 Navisworks Quantification and say Send to Desktop to create a shortcut. Because we're going to come to this later as well, and that'll make it easy. So, but basically inside here, we've got we're gonna focus in on the Navisworks CWD training. And so there's a few PDFs that I wanted to go through. And so they're up on my Bluebeam right now. So number 1 is the standard protocols, CWD Navisworks Standard Protocols. And these are some things that we put together. This is the way CW Driver does quantification and things to remember and to look for. So this is kind of a good resource to see kind of the CW Driver way of doing things.
All right, so you guys are going to kill me, but I just got in my estimating. You said estimating, estimates, estimates, and then
estimating with BIM.
Okay, got it.
And then 0 Navisworks Quantification.
Got it.
And then the CWD training.
All right.
So those are those 4 PDFs what we're talking about. So protocols is kind of standard ways of doing things. The quick start guide, it's kind of a work in progress, but the idea is to get you up and running, kind of a self-tutorial on setting it up and where everything is. And then we have kind of a more detailed Navisworks Quantification tutorial. It doesn't have any pictures, but it walks you through from start to finish. So a good resource. It's about 6 pages long. Goes through all the steps. And then there's a PDF called Additional Resources, which has a link to my old professor Kevin Miller's. He has a bunch of tutorials and information on this same subject as well. So I wanted to go through the protocols, and then we'll jump into the software. All right?
Okay.
Any questions so far?
Nope.
So far, so good. So file setup. So that's the first thing that we like to standardize when we're using files. So say, Rika, you've got your project coming up that you're going to be able to get the Revit model from the architect early on. And so the best way that we found is to make a BIM folder either in your takeoff folder of your estimate or under bid docs, wherever you want to make it, and then have these 5 subfolders. You have an NWC file or folder, NWD, those are both Navisworks file types, and then a Revit folder. That'll be where you drop the original Revit file, and then a reports and a current takeoff. So that's kind of the folder structure that we've identified that we think is the best, but you know, obviously you can let us know if it's something's different. So
this is in the estimating in each of the project estimating takeoff files.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is nice because Timberline, we don't keep the files in the same job.
Right. Timberline is all kind of centralized. Right.
Yeah, I mean we could, but we don't do that. So it's nice to be able to keep everything in one in the jobs folder.
Definitely. So we set up these folders, and you'll notice the files that I had you guys open or download. It's in that format. So that Bim Tutorial Files. So that's kind of the format that I did it. And then we want to make sure when we download in the files that we put a date stamp on the end of the file, because inevitably you're going to get updates. And so if you notice, this is the file that I had you guys download. Inside the NWC folder, there's the aquatic, and then I put a date stamp. And then there's the architectural, and I put a date stamp. And the structural, and I put a date stamp. So the idea is that you can keep track of changes easier that way. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I have the current takeoff folder where we just drop it in there, and we take off the date stamp. And I'll tell you more why later. But so that's basically the folder structure. Then we have some standard setup files that are in that Navisworks Quantification folder on the V drive. And basically it has standard catalogs, which is like your template for your takeoff. So we've kind of done some work at setting that up for you already. I even have options. You can like import in an options file, so you can have the same options as me, kind of thing. Search sets, which basically it's a way to say, okay, I want to find all the concrete in this project and select it all. Or I want to find all of the exterior walls in this project and select it all. So ways to get through the model, we set up a bunch of those as standard ones, so it'll make us more efficient. And then workspaces, basically the way that Navisworks looks, you can just import that in and have it be the same every time once you like it. So those we'll go through in a minute as well. And then I just wanted to point out on this is how important it is to review the model. And I think, Rika, did Todd sit down with you and go through doing a takeoff at one point?
He did. He showed me a few steps, and it's been a while, but yeah, he showed me how to do a few of the takeoffs.
Okay. And I know, John, the same thing for you, right? He showed you a little bit.
Yeah, I got the early model for the Europa Village, and we played around with it for a while, but like Rika, it's been a while. And I actually, we're in the DD phase. We just got new plans for that job, updated plans, so I'm going to probably ask for the model once after I bid it, because I don't want to learn something during the bid process. But I do want to get into it after that, so that I'm, this refresher course is fresh on my mind.
Good. So as you guys probably both know and found out that sometimes there's things that are either not accurate or misleading in the model, or can be confusing. So I've tried to identify some of the things that you can look out for.
Okay.
And so obviously it's important to review it so you know you have a level of confidence with your takeoffs. Just like in a set of drawings, right? It can be a crappy set of SD drawings with not a lot of detail. The model can be the same way. You just have to make assumptions. So, so some things to note, that if you pull through all your concrete and your volume is very different than what you would expect, sometimes there's different variables that maybe the architect changed the name of the variable and they're not coming through all the way. So it might have a 0 volume when really it was mapped as something else. So you can remap variables to make sure all those still come through automatically. So that's just something to know at this point, and we can go through and how to do that later. But just something to know.
Glad the estimator is still needed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. And it's you guys, I think I'm preaching to the choir, but it's no different than the set of plans where you still have to make assumptions, you still have to use your head, and so it just helps you do things a little quicker sometimes. So it's also good to kind of, when you're sometimes hiding things and there's the hide unselected button, it's good to save your selections so you can come back to them later. So we'll show you how to do that when we get in there. And then it's same thing with viewpoints. If you kind of zoom into a location inside the building and you want to refer back to that often, you can save a viewpoint. And so it'll jump back to that spot. So those are some things to think about as you're doing your takeoffs. And then these are items that can give you problems. Slab over metal deck, it's going to have the full thickness, and so your volume is going to be heavier than it actually is for concrete. So that's always something to think about because of the flute heights. If there's flickering surfaces, that means there's two surfaces in the exact same plane, which means there could be an issue. A lot of times your structural concrete will be in both the architectural and the structural, so you kind of have to do a little QCing to see what's your full scope. I'll just kind of breeze through. So wall area is always going to be in net square footage. And so if you want, usually we take off things in gross square footage for walls, going right through doorways and windows. So that's something to be aware of. You can override it and get that, but you just got to know what you have. We always perform spot little measurements and check the model to make sure things look right. And then these are just some other items, but I think I'm just going to jump into the software. You guys can look at this at your own leisure. But I want to jump into Navisworks. So any questions on this document, the Navisworks protocols?
No, I think I just need to run through it and run a project with that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
And it's a work in progress, so
I think it's a good start, this little cheat sheet.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go ahead and if you open up the Bim Tutorial Files, and in here we've got the current takeoff. So let's go ahead and open up the architectural model in the current takeoff. And so just double click on it, and it should open up Navisworks Simulate.
So in the Bim Tutorial Files is current takeoff. Right. And within there are three SU.
Correct. Yeah, do the one with the AR at the end.
Okay.
I'll drag mine.
So it's asking how I want to open it. So now, gosh darn it.
So yeah, make sure you choose Simulate.
Mine says can't resolve external reference.
So go ahead and say ignore all.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, that happens almost with every file. So I think it has something to do with when you export it from Revit, it was attached to like a project file, a family that was linked all these different models together, and now we're opening up onesie twosies. So I think that's why. But yeah,
Okay.
always just say ignore all when that happens. It's a good question.
Okay, so for me, it's saying, what do you want to open it with? And then it's showing my app store, which I'm not the most familiar in Windows, the new Windows.
John, with your new computer, were you able to open, get Navisworks Simulate installed? Because I know it was initially installed. I'm not sure we went through and got it installed on your new computer.
So no, but I can go and try it. Well, I have it in my C drive in the Autodesk file. So let me see if I can open it from there.
Yeah, try and open. It sounds like you have it on there. So open up Navisworks Simulate and then Simulate 2015.
Well, in that simulate, so in that simulate, there are a bunch of folders.
But no application?
There's a auto run, config, DLM, setup. So I don't see Navisworks Simulate 2015 R2.dlm.
Can we see your screen real quick? Can we shoot it over to him?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Show my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, I have to step out real quick.
Okay. So when you
are you able to see it?
So double click on the simulate.
Are you able to see my screen?
I am,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
And then scroll down, see if there's an application file in there. Yeah, it looks like it's not. If you just click on your Windows bottom left, you know, your start button, and just start typing in simulate. Yeah.
There we go.
So doesn't look like it's installed. Right, Todd? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay.
I would say we'll just put in a service desk request and get them to install that and make sure. I'll follow up with them and make sure it's the license for Simulate.
Okay.
And John, I'm gonna throw up an NWD onto the Q drive so that you can open it up with freedom, and at least you can get around with navigating around the model. So if you go back to the Q drive under Bim Tutorials, I've dropped this ar.nwd file.
NWD, okay.
It's the very bottom one. So if you go back up one folder, it's that file at the bottom.
Oh.
Yeah. So at least you'll get familiar with how to get around.
Okay.
So I don't know if we should hold off and wait for Rika.
I don't know. You could probably wait a couple minutes and.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Okay, Stuart. So you went back to being the presenter. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, I pulled up this. Oh wait. Should I be seeing? Oh, there we go. All right. It's loading.
Okay. And it'll probably have some external error references, so you just say ignore all when you see those.
Okay. Okay.
So let me know when it pops up.
Okay, 100%. Doesn't look like anything. Oh, there we go. There's another screen coming up. I think it's nothing popped up, so it's kind of populating the drawing.
Okay. So I'll just kind of walk you around this. I know you're a little familiar with it, but basically you've got your model view screen here. You've got your view cube. So with this, you can always hit the home button, which sometimes if you kind of get lost off in space and you don't like, where'd the model go, or you're zoomed really out, you can just come here and hit the home button, and it'll give you a nice shot of the entire model.
Okay.
You can also click and hold down, click and drag to rotate using this.
Yep, I remember that one.
And if you click on your scroll wheel and hold it down and move your mouse, that's the pan. So, and then just scrolling your scroll wheel zooms wherever your pointer is. So between the pan and zoom, you can get around your model pretty good. And then the last one you need is the orbit. So you can either use the view cube, but I like to hold down shift and then click on the scroll wheel, and that orbits.
Okay.
So those kind of three movements are the way I get around the model the most. I zoom, pan, and orbit to get around. Okay, are you able to do that?
Okay. Well, I'm on the, so I've got to go, because I've got the, okay, so here we go. Wait a minute. So,
I'm back on, Stuart.
All right, cool.
So every time when I went back into the file, it repopulates. It's a little slow.
Oh yeah, so I would probably copy it down to your desktop and then do it. That's because it's on the network drive. That's why it's probably a little slow.
And you can also change the rendering settings on it if you want to do that. Under Viewpoint tab.
Right.
And then lighting mode, yep, to shaded.
So are you still on my screen, Todd?
No, I'm looking at Stuart's.
Oh. Yeah, because it's right now it's just having a hard time populating. So should I just save the whole thing? Let's see.
Yeah,
I think bring it local. That'll be the first thing, and then the second thing is I would change your appearance so that it's shaded.
And so Rika, why don't you do that as well? So go to the Viewpoint tab, and then we're going to go to Mode, and then Shaded, and you'll notice it's just kind of solid colors now. And so that'll help. That usually helps a little bit, and we like to do that in quantification anyways.
I don't see a mode in the Viewpoint tab.
It'll be under the render style. If your window is a little smaller, it might be squished together. But so for instance,
so the first thing I want to do is save it as my desktop. So I'm trying to do that, and wouldn't that be at the home button, file option?
It's actually the N button. Right here. It's that N at the top left, the big N, and then you can do Save As.
Oh, I see.
So while you're saving that, so Rika, so basically getting around, there's three tools I use. It's Zoom, which is scroll. You just scroll and it'll zoom wherever your pointer is. And then if you hold down the click wheel,
On your You mean the scroll button on your
mouse? Yeah. So is that working for you? So if you scroll down, it'll zoom in, and scroll up, it'll zoom out.
Yeah.
And then
So
go
I
ahead.
can't save it. It's I hit that end button and there's no save options. It's
So
new, open.
So what you want to do, John, is go to your file where I saved it. Let's see, and just copy that NWD file.
Okay.
And then
So I get out of this. Get out of it.
Yeah, you can exit out of that, copy it, and then paste it onto your desktop, and then open it again. That's what you'll want to do. So Rika, so you've got the zooming, and then pan is you click and hold your scroll wheel and then move your mouse, and that lets you kind of pan over in the same viewpoint.
Okay.
And then if you hold down shift and then click the scroll wheel, you orbit. And it orbits whatever you last zoomed on. That's the pivot point.
Okay.
So those tools, that's how I kind of get around. I pan, zoom, orbit, zoom, orbit, zoom, pan. So that's kind of a good way to get around. There is also the walk tool, which you can get to by under the viewpoint tab, walk. Same with pan or orbit. You can just click those and be in that mode. But the walk, there's a shortcut for it, is a good kind of smooth way to walk through the model. So it works where you click and hold down your click, and then if you go up, it moves you forward while you're holding down. Back, moves you backward. Left, turns you. So you can kind of walk through model, walk through walls, and get around that way too. And if you want to go up and down, you can either click and hold the scroll wheel and then go up, and then kind of walk through so you're right on the right level, and then click and hold on the scroll wheel and drop down. Let's go down a level. Let's see, here we are. I'm really close to a wall here. I'm going to back up. So that's kind of the basics of getting around Navisworks. Does that make
pretty
sense?
sensitive.
Yeah, I know.
Playing around with a few of it, and the screen kind of moves. You lose your.
Yeah, and then if you scroll, if you don't click the scroll, and you just scroll up and down, it looks up and down like tilting your head. So it's kind of like.
How do I get into the building? I can't seem to get in. It keeps moving my the whole building up or down.
Gotcha. So if I'm outside the building, so are you able to walk forward? So just in the walk mode, and then you just click and then drag up, and it moves you forward.
Hold on one sec. So if I walk to the front of the building and then just drag up.
And just.
Yeah, it still keeps me on the outside of the building.
Does it like hit like you stop? Like does it like you're running into it and then you stop, or is it? Are you
no, it actually moves the building up or down.
Let me.
Or forward or backwards. I'm sorry.
Let me give you the screen and so I can see what you're seeing. So if you want to accept that and show your screen.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet. You should have to push a little. Oh, there we go. Now I see it. Oh, now it went away.
Okay. Should.
There we go. Okay.
Use my little feet.
Gotcha. So I think what the problem is, you're way up high above it. So if you click on your scroll wheel and then go down, and drag it down. So click on the scroll wheel and then drag down. So instead of scrolling down, just drag down. So one more time. Let's see. So just click on the scroll wheel and hold it down, and then drag down. So that's clicking on the left button. If you can click on the scroll wheel. Oh, there you go. So it'll show the little 4 arrows when you have it right. There you go. Now go down. And that's going to start bringing you down. So start higher in the screen.
Okay.
So start up there. And then, so yeah, that's tilting your head up and down. So come lower. Now we're getting closer. Okay. And now scroll, just scroll up just a little bit. There you go. So you're looking more straight at it. And now walk straight at it by just left clicking and then dragging up.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay. So that's with your just left click instead of with your scroll wheel.
That's
Try
left click. Keeps giving me that.
Yeah, just like the regular click.
My other left, you mean?
So there we go.
Okay.
So it's the little
back to basics.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Software, it's all weird. There's all these little shortcuts.
It's never the user, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, so you can kind of between clicking up and dragging, walking straight, and then you get closer and closer. So click and then drag up again. Let's walk a little closer. Let's walk till you're right over the middle of the building. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you drag it a little left, it'll kind of veer you to the left. So that's the pan. That's your click wheel, your scroll wheel. So click just the left click. Oh, now you're turning. Yeah. See how if you go right, it turns you. And now just click and drag straight up. And let's go till you're literally.
The left key, the left click straight up.
Yeah. Left click.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
And then,
keep going up.
Yeah, keep going, and then you can even veer it a little to the right, so you're turning and going towards that penthouse. Oh, yeah, it's sensitive. There you go.
Okay.
A little more. Let's go a little more till you're like standing over the building. So think of your viewpoint as you. So keep going a little more. A little more. Okay, now click the scroll wheel and hold it and go down. And let's drop you down inside the building.
Okay, so I literally had to be over it.
Yeah.
The building. Okay,
Exactly.
got it.
Yeah, wherever you're.
Oh, still not quite. Oh, okay.
Oh, you're
That's
close.
Sorta.
So now just go forward a little bit. So with the left click, not the scroll wheel. There you go.
Now I need to come down a little bit, right?
Yeah, so you can move forward and then come down.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so it's kind of the 2 different modes. With the left click is more just going left, right, forward, back. With the scroll wheel, it's up, down, and then sidestepping.
Okay.
So I noticed you got all your grids on. So go to, is it View? Go to View tab, and then click on the Show Grid. Unclick that button. And then it gets rid of all those grids. Sometimes that's nice, but we don't want them right now.
Okay. Do you want the screen back? Or I guess you can take that back, huh?
Yeah, let me grab that back. And John, are you still on? Are you okay?
I was just watching you guys because I was trying to do the same thing with mine, and it was very confusing. But then the grid deal really helped.
Yeah.
Now it's much better without them. So
yeah.
I'm sort of you know, I'm using my mouse to go in and out. Okay, and then when I do that, there's a little pivot type thing that comes up.
Yep. So when you're in the pointer mode and you scroll, that zooms in, and yeah, it says where your pivot is.
Oh, that's just, okay, so that's nothing big. And then, but most of it is done by what you call the scroll wheel, is that what it is? Which is or the cube, I guess?
Well, so the scroll wheel and the cube can both do kind of similar things. So one, it's like using the mouse is like the shortcut, but you could also drag the view cube around to orbit around your last pivot point.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. So I set the pivot point with my mouse, and then I can orbit around with the cube.
Yeah.
And then, okay, and so the cube, so there's a cube, and then there's that little circle around it.
Yeah, so you can also click on the faces, and it'll give you kind of standard views. And so that's what the circle around is for, is just to kind of for reference. So I can click on any part of this cube, and it'll give me that standard view.
Okay.
You know, elevation view.
So did you ever have, so when Rika was saying, you know, to walk in the building, you actually didn't, you got close to it, but you didn't walk in.
Yeah, so you can by using the walk mode.
Oh, okay.
So there's the pointer mode, which is zooming and orbiting. And then there's the walk mode, which is like literally like you're in a game, you're in a video game, you know, like a first-person shooter. And so you can, by alternating using the left click and dragging or the scroll wheel click, you can kind of get around and then walk right through the building.
Okay. I really have to get into gaming.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna keep moving forward because I want to get into the quantification part. So let's make sure we're on the viewpoint. We're in the mode of shaded.
Mode of shaded.
Viewpoint and then mode shaded. And then if you go to the home tab, we're going to start quantification.
So when I drop down my mode, there's no shaded. It's above and below, above, below.
Are those his 3D grids, or the grids that it's referencing? That's what it sounds like.
So it would have been some of these?
No, under the view rather than viewpoint.
Gotcha. Yeah,
there's two modes.
Yeah, you're right. Good call. So it's under viewpoint.
Oh, okay.
And then mode shaded.
Well, under viewpoint, I don't have mode.
You don't have it
camera,
under
navigate, rend, and sectioning.
So under rend, it's going to be maybe there's a drop down or something where.
I also don't know what Freedom has.
Right.
The default might just be shaded. I don't know.
Okay.
It says lighting in mode, yeah.
Yeah. So the mode, that's the one. But
oh, mode. Aha, shaded.
Okay. Oh, good. Good.
So now, John, we're going to be moving forward with things that are in Simulate and are not in Freedom. So you'll just kind of have to, I think, watch at this point until you get that installed.
Okay.
So basically, those steps are you come to the Home tab, and then you click on the Quantification button, which opens up your quantification workbook. And it may or may not be pinned. So you can pin any of your windows and make them stay by clicking on that little thumbtack. And then we want to click Project Setup under the Quantification Workbook. So are you there, Rika?
Yep, project workbook. And I got, it comes up with, would you like quantification getting started tutorials? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, so then it should bring up the wizard. Or yeah, sometimes, yeah, I think it asks if you want to learn more or something.
Yeah, okay, I got the wizard. I think the same screen you have.
Cool. So let's just, for basic purposes, let's do, we're going to do no catalog, so say none, and then just say next, and then imperial, yes. Model volume, we're going to change to cubic yards, just because usually that's what we need, and then next, and then finish.
You said model volume cubic feet, right, or cubic yards, right?
Yeah, change it to cubic yards.
Okay. Next. Okay. Right.
And so right now it's all blank, the quantification workbook. But I just want to show you how to just do a standard takeoff, and then later I'll show you how we can be more detailed and actually have like a CSI template, which Todd probably showed you before.
Yeah.
So do you see your selection tree?
Yes.
Okay. If you ever don't see something, you go under the View tab and then Windows, and that's how you turn on different or turn off different items. So the selection tree is checked, so that's good because we want to see it. But if you didn't see something else you wanted to, you can click here.
Okay.
So this is the architect. Basically, this is the organization of the model. And so let's click on an item. So go to the pointer, and let's click on this climbing wall.
I didn't get to that area.
Oh, gotcha. So you're probably somewhere else. That's fine. So if you just click on any wall or item or piece in the model, and it'll highlight.
Okay, got it.
And then over on your Properties tab, which on mine, it's over on the right here, you can see there's all these different tabs of different properties.
Okay, mine didn't come up with properties.
So a way to get there is to right-click on what you selected and say Properties. I thought you could do that.
I don't see a tab that says properties on the when I right-click.
So let's go to Windows under the View tab. And then turn on Properties.
Okay. There, now I see it.
There. So whatever you select, it'll adjust to show the properties of that item. And so on this wall that I'm on, you can see there's lots of different categories of items, of properties. The ones that usually have info is the element or the Revit type. Those two ones seem to have the most information that's useful. So if you look go ahead.
I'm sorry. I hit a glazing element.
Okay.
I have Revit material, Autodesk material, element ID, and timeliner, and then material cell. Like, is the element ID the same? No, I don't have an element.
So if you right-click on that item again, and then say Set Selection Resolution to First Object.
Okay, it had last object. Okay.
Yeah, and now click on a different item or click back to that item, and then it should show up.
Okay, yep, it did.
So element and Revit type, those are important ones. So if you look at the element, you'll notice it has all these variables and then quantities. So you got a volume here, you've got a width, 3 foot 4 inches on mine. It's probably something different for yours. You have name and type information. It even says GL1 on mine. So sometimes it'll have architectural references.
Yeah.
So
that's
and Yeah, so it's a way to kind of, you can get around and learn a lot about the model just by clicking through and looking at the properties. But you can also check, wow, is this actually a 390 square foot area? You know, or you can kind of do gut checks. So I want to show real quick. So to perform a takeoff, there's 3 ways to do it. You can either drag and drop from the selection tree. So let's do that together. Let's take off all the egress gate covers. So I'm going to find that under casework and then egress gate covers. And I'm just going to click and drag it down to my quantification workbook.
Okay.
And then this is a group and this is an item. And so if I look here, this kind of summarizes your actual quantities that you took off. So if I click on the egress gate cover and then drag this item over, I can see some of the measurements. So it's got an area, it's got a volume.
Okay, I'm going to count there, yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's one way you can drag from there. You can also right-click on an item that you click in the model, and then say quantification, and then take off. That also takes off that item. And then did that work for you?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the last way is to select an item, select something in the model or in the selection tree, and then right-click on something in the quantification workbook and say take off item, take off selected model items. But you have to be clicking on a group. So basically, I like to do the drag and drop. So so that's kind of just the actual nuts and bolts process of taking it off. Let's see the easiest way. So we've got just a few more minutes here. So there's the quantification workbook, and then there's an item catalog. So on yours, the item catalog is probably over here somewhere. Let me. So it's probably over here on the left. Do you see it?
No, I don't see any. I don't see it. I don't see your tab, the 4 tabs anywhere on my screen.
So if you go to View and Windows,
okay,
and then turn on Item Catalog.
Okay.
And then now it should be, I think it usually shows up on the left there. Or did it pop up?
No, it opened up a table. It opened up a item catalog table.
Okay, good. So that's
there.
That's what we're looking for. And so this item, you can pin it to your window here. And if you wanted to make changes, it's a little confusing. So you have your quantification workbook, which is where you drag your actual takeoffs into, and it's where you can look at what your takeoffs are. And then you have your item catalog, which is like the structure of your estimate. It's like your shopping cart. This is your actual items in your shopping cart, your groceries. This is your shopping cart. And so if you wanted to change the name of one of these to make it a little better, you can't change it here. You have to change it up in your item catalog, so that's your structure.
And just just a quick note. I don't have the ability to pin it. It doesn't give me that icon anywhere for any of the screens.
Huh.
It might be by itself, and so you have to drag it over until the little icon.
So it's probably sitting off like this, something, right? And
Yeah.
maybe it's a different shape. But if you click and drag it, you can drag it and dock it to a part of the screen. So you can.
Yeah, that's all I've done is I just kind of moved it somewhere on the screen somewhere.
So
if you drag it over that item there, the arrow pointing left.
You what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to do it again. So Rika, if you drag it and then you see these little icons that pop up, there's one at the top.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Bottom. So that's to kind of dock it. So we're going to dock it to the far left.
Okay.
And then that makes it so it stays there and readjusts your view window accordingly.
It didn't.
But
It didn't.
Do I have to hit one of those things or?
yes.
Yeah. So you have to. So I'm dragging it, and you have to just drag it and then let go when you're on top of it, and it shows that blue mark.
Oh, okay. Nope, it didn't adjust it. Okay, got it. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
And then it shows up the auto hide thumbtack.
And it's a personal preference whether you want it docked over there or if you're working off two monitors, if you want to just organize them on your second monitor, it might be easier that way too. So just got to play around with it for whatever your preference is.
Okay.
So on this, we're going to delete our takeoffs. So if you select all of these by clicking one and then holding down Shift and clicking the top one, and just hit delete or click the button delete, say yes. And we're going to import in a catalog.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's over here. So that's on the quantification workbook. Let's see. Is it here? Yeah. So the far right, you may have to scroll over, but the far right button is catalog.
Got it.
And then I want you to browse to that shortcut that we made.
Uh-oh, you got some angry estimators.
Yeah, right?
Put them outside.
Is this in the one you wanted us to save to the desktop?
Yeah, this is actually going back to the V drive. Yeah, so if you made a shortcut for Navisworks Quantification.
Sorry about that, guys.
Sorry.
All right. If you want to just maybe mute yours, John, and then if you want to jump in, you can unmute.
Okay.
Does that work?
Let's see, yeah. What's my mute here? Back in my phone call.
Standard setup or standard Navis. Okay.
Press
And catalogs,
Okay.
and then click on the ice cream.
Oh, wow.
And so this ice cream is the name of our latest Timberline database.
Okay.
So this is what these match. So it's just basically a detailed CSI catalog. And so you can wrap up to just the division number. But now the idea is you could just take off the entire model all at once, which I think Todd maybe showed you. You could just drag this whole thing in down to your quantification workbook, and then you'd have everything.
Yep.
The downside, the upside is it's really quick. The downside is you don't know what's in it. A lot of times, like there's this generic models category that has all sorts of stuff, and we don't know what it is necessarily. Some of it may not be named right. So if you have a detailed catalog, now you can kind of go through item by item, and what I do is I work through this selection tree, and I just kind of go, okay, all casework, all these countertops. I want to go to Home and hide unselected. So why don't you do that? So go to Caseworks, first item, and say hide unselected. So now I see just those countertops.
Where do I find the where do I find the hide select? If I go to Home.
Yeah, it's under Home, and under Visibility, there should be a hide unselected and then a hide.
Visibility. Okay, got it.
So now you can kind of see. I use
okay.
Yeah, I use these buttons a lot. So you can do that for all sorts of different things, and then you can say unhide all to bring it all back. And I could say, okay, I just want to see my casework and floors. So I can hold down Control and click both of those and say hide unselected. And now I have some context of where these caseworks are inside my building as it relates to the floors. And I can zoom around, and I can walk around and kind of inspect. Okay, interesting. It shows these kind of curbs. And I can click on that. What is that? And it says, oh, that's a 4-inch concrete curb that was actually in my floor category. So, okay, interesting. And so you kind of just get to know the model a little bit. And so I'm constantly doing that where I'm saving, or I'm hiding unselected, I'm hiding things to see it better and to understand it better. But yeah, so once you get a comfort level, okay, all these casework items, these countertops, linear, I'm going to click on one, look at my element properties, and say, let's see, where is my height is 2'10". That's interesting. So I don't really need that. Gives me a volume. Here's my length, 43 feet. So I'm going to come through and measure this to double check it. And so I can go to the Review tab and then click on the Measure and then a point-to-point measurement. And then I can click on each corner of this item and measure it, 43 feet. So that's exactly what it said. So now I know, okay, I can trust, I can trust that. So 43 feet, 43 feet. So you get a confidence level with the model when you kind of do some spot checks like that. So now I can go ahead and I'm going to take off all these countertops, and I have to take it off to my quantification workbook. So here's my woods, finishing carpentry. So I can just drag all those down into there, and then boom, there's all my takeoffs. And I just kind of work through the model like that, item by item. And by the end of it, you have an Excel spreadsheet with all your quantities. So we're about at our hour limit. So I know I kind of rushed through a lot of that, but do you have any questions, Rika, in particular?
I do. There's nothing we can do in here that would screw up the Revit model itself, right? This is really
correct.
So if we make we can freely go through icons if we make a mistake.
Definitely.
Great question.
That was my fear before. It's like, uh-oh, what can I, yeah. And then everything you went over, like step-by-step kind of thing, that's all within those 4 PDFs that you showed us earlier, right? Okay.
Yeah. So it should all be here.
Okay.
So the Quick Start Guide, it kind of is more just getting you familiar with the layout and everything, and it goes over the different types of takeoffs you can do. But this tutorial, it's more of a step-by-step, you know, create new quantification items, and then quantifying model objects, and you know, it just kind of walks you through the process.
And then the one that you had us load up to our desktop, we can play with that and just, you know, if we're not in a project that we need to use Navisworks right away, or there's a long duration between, we can use that and just kind of get more familiar as we go and try to get more efficient in the program.
Definitely. One last thing I want to show you guys is part of those standard setup files. There is there is a workspace file. So if we go to, where did I save that? The estimating with BIM, Navisworks, standard Navisworks setup, workspaces. I have some workspaces that you can, for if you're working on one screen, this one works good if you're doing takeoffs. If you're working on two screens, this one works really good. And so in order to load those, you go to the View tab, and then the Load Workspace. You'll notice there's a few ones that are built in. There's a Navisworks Minimal, a Navisworks Standard. And then you click on More Workspaces, and then you just browse to that place on the R drive, or sorry, the V drive. So that's why I was saying make that shortcut. Estimating with BIM, Navisworks, Standard, Workspace. And if you say open that one screen, it'll take you out and reload. And it has everything very nicely that you should need. And then same for the two-screen one. If you're working on two screens, it basically pulls all this stuff off to the other screen and gives you more model space. So Rika, were you able to load that?
Yeah, but it just dumped it all on one
for your
screen, but layered.
Yeah, so I think depending on which monitor you had it on, I think I set it up with, it was originally on my right, and then it pushed everything to the left.
Okay.
So what you can do is drag the actual big file over to your right screen or the left, and once you get it the way you like it, you can save the workspace so it works for you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Seems
so,
like
yeah.
that view button or tab is like a good, kind of has a lot of the catch-all type stuff in there, view and viewpoint.
Yep.
Okay. Load.
Guys, I'm going to have to get out of this call and answer another one.
Okay.
All this stuff has been pretty good because even though I've just watched Rika there, or your screen, I think Todd already we kind of already did this once, so it's really a good refresher. So when I get the new program installed, I think I'll start playing around with it.
Good.
Oh, awesome. And excellent job, Stuart. You've done a lot of footwork on this to really help simplify it as well. So you've done a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we're always looking for any feedback, so we appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, John.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. So yeah, so Rika, just to kind of, or do you have any other questions? I know I want to be sensitive of your time.
No, I think you know, it's just playing in the program that's going to be more beneficial, just being able to do it more frequently. I think, and then I just gotta I just got to practice on it and get things set up. But I like that tab that you showed that had the ice cream in the item catalog. So that definitely helps.
And I wanted to show you. I dropped a sample report that I exported from my actual San Francisco job. And so if you look in that, in the folders that I saved on the Q drive, so under the reports folder, and if you open up the version 2 one, SFSU combined takeoff, and it has a date, and then version 2.
So is it in the?
So
it's the right one.
Sure, it's in the Bim Tutorial Files.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. Bim Tutorial, and then
reports.
Okay. Oh, it doesn't. I don't have it. Huh? No, it must not have copied it over.
Weird. So, at any rate, you can see on my screen. So you can export your takeoffs by that same button where we imported the catalog. You can say export quantities to Excel.
Okay.
And so when you do that, it pulls open an Excel file that looks a lot like this.
Okay.
And so this can be a little overwhelming too at first. It's like, whoa, you know, there's just like all these different tabs, and but basically the main tab that you want to look at is the groups raw and the groups pivot table. So in the groups raw, this is like the summary. So if there was 15 different slabs of 24-inch concrete, it just shows the summarized amount of all 24-inch concrete, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so somewhere over there it would give us the total quantity.
Exactly. And so you come over and it has all of the categories. So 12-inch concrete, we've got 48.5 cubic yards. And then our area, there's our square footage. So this is what you're going through, and based on your folder structure and your catalog, it'll give you different layers of information. So this was under concrete, under cast in place, structural, floor. So you can kind of tell the story of what these are.
Okay. And is this naming that the architect has named, or is this the titles that we literally have to input?
This is straight from what the architect said. Okay. The only thing that we did was this first group, concrete, and then cast in place concrete. That was in our catalog.
Okay.
And then everything else was kind of by the architect.
So typically the architects would just put it in the item, the group, and the group 4 and the item number. Is that typically traditional, or what you're seeing that how they work?
So like if we look in walls, I'm back in the model here, walls, basic walls, and then they have a group for each type of different wall. And this architect differentiated interior versus exterior, which is helpful. So that's pretty typical, where you have just kind of all the walls in one. If you have, let's see, structural framing. So in the architectural model, we have a little bit of structural framing. And so then there's usually a group for miscellaneous, HSS versus MC, you know, so they tend to break it down in pretty logical ways. Sometimes it's not, though. And then you get down to the actual items. So yeah, so there is some standard stuff that you see. Casework, they broke down the countertops versus the cabinet fillers versus the cabinets. And then they have it by the actual call-outs for the base cabinets.
Okay.
So they have kind of their grouping naming convention.
Right. Okay.
So, sorry that was kind of a whirlwind, but I think you're right what you said. You just kind of have to start getting in it, and you come into problems, and then you just either look at the tutorials or give myself a call, and we can kind of just work through it and start getting the process down.
Yeah, I think we're starting up a new project. It's an interiors, and there's going to be they've got to put it in Bim. Oh, by the way, Todd, you still online?
Yep.
The Mesa College Fine Arts just started up. We had our kickoff 2 days ago, so that's
is this pre-con or where are we at?
No, this is a project that we were awarded. This is that one. I'm sorry to sidebar real quick, Stuart. This is the one that had kind of some interesting standards in the BIM that you had pointed out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was never able to get a meeting with those guys. They never responded. So, but we were awarded the project, and it's kicking off, and that's the one I want to run through Navisworks. And
to be honest, that would be an ideal project, just because all of those same standards are going to be required of the architect, and so
yep.
we should be able to utilize it and trust that information. So that's great.
Okay, yeah, and I pointed it out to the team again, reminded them that they need to review the standards, because that you had noticed some things that were a bit different than typical, so they've been warned. But anyway, that's the project that I wanted to start refreshing myself with Navisworks and run through Navisworks on. So that'll probably come down in about a couple months or so, I would imagine. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's leading that?
Go ahead.
The architect is Hannah Gabriel Wells.
Okay. And who's our PM that's running it?
It's Hank and I right now that are running the pre-con side right now. So, but we have existing drawings. I've asked if they had it in BIM by chance. So I'm not sure if they do. It's an older building, but
okay.
See what they turn out.
Cool. Thanks for the little side note.
Yeah. Sorry, Stuart.
No, that's good. Yeah, I was just going to show you. So I didn't show you. You can put in all of the models right on top of each other if you want. So I have the architectural, the structural, and the MEP models all here right in the same file. So that's something too that it can help kind of with coordination. You can kind of see all the systems together. And then one last thing I was going to search sets. So I also, in those standard setup files, I mentioned about search sets. So you can set up these sets to look for certain properties in the model and then select them all at once. So I kind of set up some standard ones where, so like if you wanted to see all of the glazing in the project, you can click on this, and it may need to be tweaked because every model is a little bit different. But in theory, once you get it dialed in, then you can come up here and say hide unselected, and then you can see here's all the glass we got on this job. You could either take all this off at once to get an overall square footage, a rough square footage of just your glazing, or you can just kind of analyze it. You'll notice that the solar panels came across as glass, so that wasn't quite right, but may need to be tweaked how I did that search. Okay. But, and same with like, you could find fire-rated walls. With this search, the architect always did HR, like to HR to rated walls. So that's what I did a search for. And so here you can see, okay, there's my rated walls on this, and you could take all those off separately if you wanted. And the sky's the limit with these search sets. So if you had a special thing that you were looking for in the model and wanted to kind of capture, here's all the concrete. And so it picked up the GFRC and the concrete, it looks like, on this. And, so that's another helpful tool that can be good for analyzing and for doing takeoffs. So
awesome.
Again, it's all kind of described in there, and once you get to that point, me and Todd are resources for you to make sure that we do it right and make your life easier.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your guys' time, so thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I can't wait for the Mesa to get their drawings done so I can do my initial pass on this and see if I can get it, if I can do it right.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, and let me know when you get that, and we can kind of go through it together the first time or something.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Again, this is, taking an old dog into the new techie. So.
Okay, don't be afraid to reach out, though. I mean, Stuart has done a phenomenal job taking this from where I had, just started, and really, really impressed. And we want to help save you time and leverage, and utilize some of these tools to help it so you don't have to do the quantification as much, but can spend more time understanding what's in the project. So.
Yeah, no, that definitely is appreciated because, as you guys know, time's of the essence. So.
Yeah. And I know so Mark Phillips in our office, he's wants to use this kind of stuff, but is a little weary, and rightfully so. You don't totally trust everything. So he's still having all the takeoffs being done by some of our interns and the assistant estimators and on screen. But I said, hey, let me take this off for you. So I did a detailed takeoff for him, like this, and gave it to him, and he's just been using it as kind of like a check,
right.
which is still really helpful and is good. It's another check that you can produce very quickly. You don't have to rely on it, and I don't know if all the time you should, because we're held to the drawings, not the model. So, but if it's a good check, and in some cases it picks up things that you didn't see in the drawings, you know the story, so it's a good.
Well, I like it as a good talking tool for the client, once we get more proficient in moving around.
Hey, Rika, I actually have a 3D mouse that I'll send down to you that should help.
Okay.
We'll get that set up for you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think there's just an added tool to be able to show, give the owner one more, more confidence that we understand the project, we can maneuver around, and, two, that, we're doing double checks, and, this is the information the designers have given us, and, if something's changed, we can kind of hone in on it, or the client or the architect can show us, hey, did you remember this, or we actually added something in this area. It's a lot easier to visualize a 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And like you can section down the model too. I know I just keep throwing on add-on things, but yeah,
I like it too. We can find things. It's a lot easier to, when we're doing our estimate, if we can't find a cut or something, or we can't visualize how they're intersecting three different angled elements in one corner or something. This definitely helps us kind of visualize it too from our side.
Yeah.
Is that a squiggly? Is that a artistic element, or is that there's a note there?
Yeah, no, this is a markup. It's nice, huh? Very pretty.
I like it.
Yeah. It's called the red blob. They wanted it. I don't know why. You know.
Wanted to see if anybody noticed it, huh?
Yeah. 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 So you can do markups, 3D markups, and send screenshots. And this was, I was trying to show. We were looking at where this heating hot water entered the building. So I was trying to show that to one of the subs. And so yeah, it's great talking tool. 3D, you can understand things so much quicker. But
yeah,
you got to be able to, you got to know how to do it too. You know, that's the tricky part, is just getting familiar with the software to be able to do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely like it because you know, even not just like you mentioned the subs, and you know, we have a go-to meeting now. We can pull this up and say, hey, this is what I'm talking about. This is, you know, did you include this cost, or what is this cost, or
yeah,
or it's just this simple little thing right here. It shouldn't cost that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
So, all right, well,
guys.
let you go.
All right, thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Have a good four-day weekend, I guess. So.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. You too.
All right, take care, guys.
Okay, we'll see you.
Bye.
Thanks, Stuart.
Yeah, no problem, Todd. I'm glad you got to join in.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I really like the ice cream integrated. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know it's hard. This one I think was, there's so much, and this has always been my problem, is I, like with these Bluebeam trainings too that I've done with estimating, there's just like so much I want to keep piling on, but I gotta just keep it short, keep it simple, and not try to mention everything.
Yeah.
But it's a fine line. But
yeah, I think you've done great. You've had good documentation to back it up, and then we're always here as another resource. So
yeah.